So here's a video demonstrating. I've set some sticks up. You can see this stick is awfully close to being dead where the camera is. This stick is parallel to it, but because of parallax and the camera angle being off, we see that line. Right? I'll make that red so it stands out a little bit more. I've placed a yellow ball back on the. It's about there, relative to my foot. That will be important because that'll be about where the extension of the shaft would hit the target line on the downswing. Okay, so I'm just saying parallel, whatever. Got an extra long driveway marker in the ground here. Ignore the backswing. I'm just taking it back. Okay, so then on the downswing, now that it's still pointing at the camera a little bit too much, like the stick is not vertical yet. So there's the position we'd want to talk about, right? When we lose it falls down a little bit, but you can see how this line, it doesn't stick straight out of that, so I'll just kind of go up the middle, but you can see how this line, if I had the shaft pointing at this ball, right, it's intersecting the top of that ball right here. It just intersects the top of that ball. If it were pointing at the ball, that would be more likely pointing here, right? It's pointing at the top edge of the ball or just slightly outside the ball. Okay, so there it is, right? The stick is hitting the ball, the yellow ball. And you can see if I trace the baseline going forward, right? The club shaft stays kind of along the top of the ball until it gets to where it's pointing at the ball. Then it looks pretty much okay, although you can still have some errors due to parallax and the fact that you're using a camera view and kind of compressing 2 dimensions down to 3. The red line is starting to look like it's floating in space right now. The red line here, it would obviously continue out, in that direction. Now it really looks like it's floating. I mean, it looks like it's going through my hands, but it's on the floor. This in 3 dimensions now looks like it's pointing well above the extension of the target line. But really, if I'm doing this properly, and I tried a little bit, it would be pointing at an extension of this line. So it'd be pointing down here somewhere, maybe where that sun is hitting or something. And then you can see when I get to parallel, and again the camera is positioned at about this height, so the shaft is horizontal right now to the ground, but we can see that, right, the camera's up here, it's above the club head, so it looks like it's down a little bit. You could say it looks like the club head's outside my hands and stuff, but again the camera's over here, so we're getting a little bit of parallax error from that as well. This club was dead behind my hands. So the camera's, basically up here, height-wise, and so it's slightly above and inside where the club head is. So that leads to a little error there as well. And if you're aware of it, you can make adjustments for it, but if you're not, it can throw you off. So then you can see So right now at this point, like if I traced a line out, this shaft would be intersecting right about, just off the screen. That's where that club's pointing. Now a little farther in, it's intersecting, well, still just off the screen. I didn't go very far. Technically it should be the sweet spot, of course. So now it's intersecting back here. It's pointing, somewhere back here. And all the way up until that line baseline kind of intersects with the middle of the ball at impact. Then on up through. But even up here, technically this shaft would be pointing at the extension of the baseline, maybe up here, right? Up there somewhere. It might be pointing at the thing right there. Hope that helps clarify. Obviously, the closer the camera gets, the more to the left the camera gets. So, like a longer club where the driver, maybe the driver's teed up out here, this angle becomes even wider, right? Maybe there. That's 43. This is only 33. So then, then it might be pointing. It should be pointing back here. Right, so then it goes through the top of the ball even more. And again, if the camera gets closer, that angle spreads out a little bit more. You start to look at more of the underside of the plane, if you want to think of it that way. So hope that helps illustrate why, if you're pointing at or just inside the ball, you're actually probably pointing further inside than you think, because you're pointing kind of back there. If you're pointing here, you're over the top edge or just outside the golf ball. Not to mention the fact that we often ask people to kind of point the shaft here, because currently they point it here, and we just are going for a little bit of exaggeration out there. So yeah, hope that helps. And check out the thread and ask your questions there. Thanks.